We are live.
Right on time.
Just let the music play so while I share it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Honestly, we'll let it go for like a minute or two. Get viewers on there.
Feel free to tag any teams that we're gonna talk about today.
Well, I'm gonna let me share my personal page.
Okay, you can't reach on it, so.
Because you're sharing on a page that you manage, I think.
Right.
I'm usually able to.
So if you go down, where the Texas Soccer Live little banner is,
Oh, here.
right there, yeah.
What up? Oh, here we go. Personal. Share. Share to my story. Share now. Public, yes. It's been shared to my timeline. Where'd the music go? You don't want you do that in?
No, it's because when I clicked on it, I had to share it, and it would like hear us talking. Let's keep the vibes going.
We'll be with you in a minute.
Shout out DJ Flacco. Who's that?
Is that your friend?
What up, boys? Wait,
Joel?
is that Joel?
Yeah, Benitez.
Yeah, Joel Benitez.
What's up, Joel?
What up, Joel?
The cop! Protect and serve.
Hey, man, I got a question. How you telling us what's up? Aren't you supposed to be protecting and serving these streets? They're telling us what's up, man.
Hold on, right at the same time. Say something. Protect something. So 3 viewers, we got Joel, and you can hear that as
No, I'm not doing it.
Oh, you're not?
Somebody
So,
else. So maybe somebody from my
maybe your counts as Richard, I don't know.
Yay. Boom. Alright, we're good to go. Share, too.
Richard shared. I shared it. You shared it. So.
I guess I'm off, bro.
Alright,
Alright.
so I'm gonna go.
I guess Houston will survive one night.
Alright, let me know.
Well, since you're off, I want to hear your comments on a lot of the soccer stuff that's been going on all year, and especially these past couple days and weekends.
How about that Clásico way?
Visca Barça. Alright, so I'll just tone it down and then click on it to watch the comments. So.
Yeah, we're good.
Alright.
Oh boy, he wants to play. Let's go live.
Nah,
Man,
man.
know when we're up.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
sorry, my ankles don't work the same. Sorry, Joel.
Yeah. Yeah, you're in shape, we're not. All right. You gonna wish sure we're good?
Yes, we're good now.
Just a delay on this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. It is episode 30 of Texas Soccer Live. I'm glad you could join us. As you can see, we are 3 together again, the 3 Musketeers, if you will. As always, I'm Sean Tellez, with me, Raul Villarreal, and live in the flesh, Rich Romero is with us. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. Not only is it our 30th episode, it's our last episode of 2019. So we're gonna at the end, we're gonna have a little fun and talk about our favorite and most disappointing things of 2019, and kind of look ahead to 2020, which is shaping up to be a pretty exciting year in the world of soccer. So it doesn't have to be a World Cup year for it to be an exciting year. So we'll talk about why in a second. If you're watching on playback, as I said, we roughly go in order here. We're going to hit heavy at the start. Number 1, Liga MX and the playoffs. We're down to a finale. 2 people on this couch are happy. 1 is like, whatever. But, we'll talk about that in a second. We'll talk about the journey to get things. We haven't had a show since the playoffs started, so we'll talk about how that panned out. Number 2, World Cup of Clubs, another kind of cool event, a unique event in the soccer world has been going on. I'm still supporting repping today but a little disappointed. We had our shot and didn't come through. But we'll talk about that. Number 3, real quick. Not like to talk about the Dynamo and the MLS, but a quick little update I got for you. And number 4, big one we're going to talk about. We finally have the elimination round of 16. The knockouts are here for Champions League. We have the draw. We know who's playing who. We're going to go through all 8 matches and give our predictions for that. And then lastly, as I said, we're going to wrap up with best and worst of 2019 according to the Texas Soccer Live boys. So appreciate y'all watching live. As always, comment as you're watching. Ask questions. It's not very often we get all 3 of us together, so it's cool. We each have our own little areas that we're more focused on and places in soccer. So we love to answer questions, hear your opinions, ask our opinions. So let's jump in. Liga MX. Where do we begin? Well, let's. I just want to give a quick summary, and then we'll get in. I want to get y'all's impressions. The first thing I do before we even talk about the finale, let's talk about the road there and kind of what happened leading up to it from the start. So, first of all, number 1 Santos upset by Monterrey, big time, 6-3 aggregate. Number 8 over number 1. Number 2, Leon, also knocked off by Monarcas. Number 7, 5-4 advances. So that's number 1, number 2 gone. Number 3, Tigres versus number 6, America. Guess what happened? Yep, you guessed it. Number 6, America moves on, 5-4. And then number 4, Querétaro versus number 5, Necaxa. The only, I guess, where the higher seed went forward, but it was a toss-up. We said at the beginning, number 5, Necaxa went on 6-2. So all the lower seeds advanced except for that one. In the semifinals, we saw number 5, Necaxa against Monterrey. Monterrey went pretty easily 3-1. And Club America against Monarcas actually went to a 2-2 draw, but with Club America advancing on the away goals. So that brings us down to our finale, which we'll talk about why it was delayed in our next segment. But it's going to take place after Christmas now, on the 26th. And that's going to be Monterrey, 2 familiar faces in the final, and Club America. So before we talk about that final, guys, what has y'all's thoughts been on this playoffs, the wild, wild west of Liga MX soccer?
Me personally, I think basically Liga MX was basically switched, like it was flop. The ones who are on the bottom ended up being at the top, and the ones who are on top ended up being at the bottom. There was a few teams like America that you expect to be top 4. Tigres pushed their way in. Rayados struggled. Then you have your teams that didn't show up, like Toluca didn't show up, obviously. You have your occasional Tijuana show up. But Santos and Leon, from last year, they still stayed the same. They're still up there. You still see occasions to see Necaxa in there. They'll sneak in there. Querétaro's up there. You missed your Pachuca and stuff like that. But it was basically one of those seasons where it got flopped around. So your top 4 were at the bottom, and your bottom 4 were at the top. So it's kind of weird. And then to lose all 4 at the top, that only happened, I believe, in 2014.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting, and it's kind of playing out the way it played out in 2014.
Richard, your impressions?
Well, I think this has been a pretty good year for Liga MX, or at least a pretty good semester. As we were mentioning before, after Mohamed came to Monterrey, Monterrey has been doing pretty good, and I mean, it wouldn't be too much of a surprise to have a really, really good team of Rayados playing against Santos, and people were making a joke about them taking the game that they had today as that match. They were the only ones who really showed on the road like that they can actually have a solid team to score goals. But I think it's been a while where we haven't seen. I think it's never happened. It's been a semester of first where the 4 bottom teams have made it to the next stage, and then we have Rayados and America playing the first final ever. This has never happened.
Which is weird. You think these 2 teams would have met before at a finale, but
no, they've only met in semis and quarters.
Someone's always eliminated each other before,
right.
And it's usually because not both of them have been lower seeds.
Right.
Usually one of them's a higher seed and a lower seed, so they meet beforehand.
Right.
So, so your thoughts, being an America fan, your thoughts on this America team, this edition, this year. How do you think they look? And how do you think the extended rest, if you will, or not playing time, is it going to be a good thing, or are they going to be rusty?
Well, I think America right now is pretty vulnerable as a whole team. But surprisingly, they might not count with like the big names that they used to have before, or like even last year if we go there. But the team has remained solid in one area, and that's just making sure that when they play at home, they get the result back that they need to. They're like the underdog. They put themselves in an underdog position in the first leg by either losing or tying or not guaranteeing a win, and then they go back and win the next game somehow.
But this break for America is a good thing because they had trouble. Like they had trouble. I seen that they had trouble against Tigres in the semis, trying to figure out certain positions. But this break gives them time to figure out their lineup for the final.
I mean, yeah, they're never going to come in prepared. I mean,
Yeah.
haven't studied.
Right.
But it's that old adage. I mean, is time off good because it gives you planning, or is it time off? Do you rather just play? And so, and I can flip because I can flip it with Dorados and say, well, because they've been playing and with the clubs, they're going to be tired physically and not. But then you could flip that same argument and say, well, they've been playing, so they're physically ready.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, which team's going to show up. I think we're going to know right away because with Dorados being the lower team, the lower seed, they're starting off at home.
Mm-hmm.
They've been historically so good in these playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They've got what the reason they've advanced is because they've limited the damage at home. They've not allowed a lot of away goals.
Right.
And so I want to see how we'll know in the first game.
Right.
I mean, if America can get a couple of away goals, even with the Rayados win,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's maybe like let's say a 3-2, something like that. Even if Rayados wins, going back to Azteca, I think America's going to be very hard to beat with a game with a title on the line game in Azteca.
Right.
Now I will say this: they haven't been invincible this year in Azteca.
No, it's
Usually
true.
you've been thinking, okay, it's theirs, game over. Not been the case, but still, it's America and it's Azteca.
Yeah, and the difference maker has been now that the fans are actually showing up to these big matches. Like they literally almost sold out for the Monarcas game, and like, literally showed the pressure at home, which is something that you don't regularly see in the regular season matches, unlike a Monterrey game or Tigres game.
Well, I mean, after what happened today, Rayados it's in for everything. They want this, so that they obviously need their home fans to show up, and they also have their traveling fans. Their traveling fans, they give them at least, I believe, 2,000 to 3,000 tickets, and they're gonna fill it up. So if they show up in numbers and they get the support that they need, they'll get it. Because first, Mohamed showed up. He knows how to distribute his players. He knows who to sub in and sub out. So Monterrey looks pretty good.
Talk more about. I'm interested in y'all's opinion on the coaching, the manager duel that we have here. And like you said, both y'all have alluded to the difference in play Monterrey has had with Mohamed back at the helm, going to America team with a respected coach as well. How do you think? I mean, how do you? Is there a clear advantage here, or how do you see this playing out between the coaches? I mean, do you think Dorados has an advantage with Mohamed back, or is it going to be a disadvantage because he can be kind of predictable? It depends.
Me personally, he's been in Liga MX for not a while, but like a certain amount of time, and he does become predictable sometimes. But with El Piojo, well, that's what we call him for America, El Piojo. For some reason, he's always around. Like he's been in finals multiple times, but he changes it up every now and then. So you can't really tell what he's gonna come out with. And everybody in Monterrey feels like it's Mohamed. He's the same Mohamed. Is he gonna come out the same, or he might switch it up? Which is a good thing. I mean, you just got done playing one tournament. You could switch it up, come back home, and play something different.
Right.
So I can't really lean on one side because I don't want either one to win. But somebody has to win. But my side is leaning more towards El Piojo because he always switches it up. There's something different about him, and like he's used to playing finals. He's been in finals every time he's been in Mexico.
Right.
So it's kind of leaning towards him. He knows what he's doing. He knows how he's gonna play. He knows what he wants to do.
Richard?
Yeah, I think the key word right there for Miguel Piojo Herrera is he adapts to the situation at hand. The only thing I'm scared of is that both him and Mohamed get thrown out from the first leg in case things start getting intense from the bench.
Yeah.
Then what do you do then, right?
I do think subs are going to play a key role
Right.
In this series because you're at the end of a season, so it's already guys are worn out. For Monterrey in particular, coming out for this tournament, luckily healthy, to see about what they want to do. Like I said, one of the big surprises is that prior to Mohamed there, Pavon had become a forgotten person at Monterrey. All of a sudden, he infused him back into the starting lineup in a major way, and all of a sudden they win.
Right.
Handily that first game. Pavon comes out and scores in 2 minutes. So he's flipped the script. Well, like you said, does he continue with that same script? Does he change it again? I think it's going to be interesting to see. I'm curious. You're the one guy on this couch who doesn't have a team in the final. Not to put you on the spot or to call you out, but Tigres is one of those teams. I mean, I put Tigres in the same category as Santos in that they had high expectations, I think, going in. They were on a high going into the playoffs. They're winning. As you said, you guys rose up the rankings at the very end. How do you kind of break down as a Tigres follower and fan how this year, seeing one of those teams that may have not met expectations or didn't meet expectations, how do you kind of, what are your takeaways from this year for teams like that?
For us, it wasn't a spectacular year, and it wasn't a bad year. It was kind of in the middle. We had our games where it was just bad. Like, we lost games or we tied games to teams that we should have beat, and then there was teams that we should have lost where we won. We had some weaknesses in the defense. I take away that we had trouble with our defense. Our offense was here and there, and we obviously needed moves, which are being made, but I don't take it away as a bad year. It was just one of those seasons to where it just didn't work out in our favor because a lot of these teams that we expected to be like slow and off, they ended up rising up above us. So we had a good year. We made our mistakes. We made our mistakes because of one player that gave 2 goals to America, but well,
I don't think anybody likes him.
Nobody likes him. Everybody wants him. He even said he wants to go to Chivas. I don't know why we still have him, but
and if you want to go to Chivas, that tells me everything I need to know about you.
Yeah.
if you want to go to losers, then go right ahead.
But I mean,
sorry to you Chivas fans.
It wasn't a bad year for us. It was a year that, we ended up in the playoffs. We ended up in the top 4. So it was like a regular year, but we expected more out of them because we could have gone back to back, but we just fell short. And it was a 4-5 aggregate. So, I mean, we were up there.
So let's use that as kind of a hopping off point. I want to interest both y'all on this. Transitioning in, because you guys, I think, follow with Liga MX, and you guys are really good, unlike I am, about following all the transactions that occur. And there's a lot of, because everyone's focused on America and Monterrey in the final. Everybody else, like Tigres, is getting ready for, Clausura coming up here in a couple weeks after the holidays. So, kind of talking about, and Rich, if you want to go first, any moves you've heard about or what kind of you're seeing going forward as we move into, we still have a finale to play, but what teams you see making aggressive and maybe not aggressive moves going forward?
I am honestly seeing, I know I said this last year with Cruz Azul and after Ricardo Peláez came, but now Ricardo Peláez is the new team director for Chivas. He's already signed like 6 players, really good players.
Chivas is going in after players
right.
Bad.
And now that they have the wallet, and unfortunately it had to happen after the passing of their owner this year. But on top of them, Cruz Azul just got Veracruz's old goalie, Sebastián Jurado. So he's one of the new prospects. So I think those two teams who were like have history, they're coming back in a way where who knows, they might be in the top of the table, and they were fighting for a couple points to get into that 8th spot. It was a really
the fact that they finished at 10th this year, when at one point they were second to last,
right.
I mean, people forget the summer that they had.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, they hadn't had a win. They went from like April to July with like no wins.
Right.
You know, it's pretty crazy to think about it.
And on top of them, Leon, they just got a new cub.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you didn't see that. Even ESPN in the United States covered the Lion King-esque raising of the new live lion cub mascot of Leon.
And we shared it on our Twitter page. So if you're not following us there, feel free to follow us at our Twitter page at Texas Soccer Live.
Definitely. So any other before we kind of transition, like I said, the last thing I want to ask is your final prediction for the finale. But any other thoughts as we kind of put a cap on, a lid on, if you will, Liga MX minus the finale? Any thoughts on this year, takeaways, or as we go? I will say this is my personal throw-in. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. We'll never talk about Veracruz for the next year at least on this broadcast because Veracruz is gone. They're a joke to Division I soccer. Go get your butt kicked by Dorados and Leones Negros and all those guys because you don't belong with Division I.
Unfortunately, the owner is no longer the owner of the team, and Veracruz will be, as of this now, they won't be playing anytime soon. Like the franchise itself doesn't have any.
They need. I mean, it's a shame because they're an old franchise,
right?
But like they need to get like restructured from the ground up.
Right, and it looks like the state itself wants to, since they own the stadium, they also want to see if they can own the club.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they make some moves on that to try and take over.
But they broke their loss streak record this tournament, so I mean that was some good news for them.
Something for the
They won their last 2 games and lost the whole season. No, but I will say this: next season, the amount of moves that I've been seeing, like being made and stuff, Chivas is the first that are making moves, and their potential to take it all, depending on, because I mean I've seen it before with Pumas. They always say they're going to do it, and they never do it. But it's Chivas and Tigres. So one of those two, I believe, one of those two will walk out champions next season, and that's just because of the moves that I've seen, and because America's I think they've only made 1 or 2 moves, and Rayados is trying to make 1 or 2 big moves, but they're not secure yet because they're dealing with other things.
I mean, obviously, like I said, you call this a gift or a curse. I mean, I'd much rather be given this curse, the fact that my team's in the finale, and have a chance to get a championship. But I agree with you in the sense that when your team's in the finale, you are the last. You're going to be the last dog of the bowl, so to speak.
You're going to grab what you can that's left.
And the risk is when it puts teams that are in the championship finale, especially if you lose the finale, is keeping your players.
Yeah.
I will say that I have a big concern as a Dorados fan, win or lose the finale, about certain key players being able to hang on to because either Europe or other Mexican teams are going to be offering some money. You know, the difference I think between Rayados and America, I don't think it has as much of that pressure as Rayados does in terms of losing guys. I think it's more so America can gain guys. I mean, I think we're at a disadvantage when it comes to that. So I'm concerned for my team just because, not that we're poor or anything, we got plenty of money, but for whatever reason, Rayados, and maybe it's the ownership, the management, I don't know, we've had issues of kind of keeping some of those key guys.
No, but also playing a tournament towards the end, like a couple weeks before everything's supposed to start. Everybody finished their season a long time ago, so they're able to grab what they can right away. But for you guys, it's like you're playing a tournament, so you're not really worried about trying to bring in new blood. You want to focus on trying to take the tournament that you're in.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I mean, it should be pretty interesting next season. I think it starts January 8th, I believe.
Yeah,
I think it's like the first or second week of January.
It's a week into the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It'll be pretty early.
Any last thoughts, Richard, on Liga MX before we shift gears?
Well, I guess we can start by predicting who's gonna win.
No,
I
final,
think.
yeah.
I think.
Before movie, of course, the finale. Well,
Yeah.
I wonder where we're going to land on this.
Well, I guess we'll start with Raul.
Raul's the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I'm the tiebreaker.
Well, we're the predictable ones. Wait.
Yeah.
Raul, wait.
Yeah,
He's the tiebreaker.
I
He's the tiebreaker. Okay. Like, I'm going to take, and I know people say, oh, it's a homer because you're already out of fan. I think being in this tournament is a good thing. My only question that I'm concerned about is them playing this third place game on Saturday because it is a pretty quick turnaround for a final. They had to come back to Mexico. They had to adjust back. I think they can do it. I think ultimately the experience of playing over there and I think they're still riding a high. Even though they lost today, we'll get into a second, they took Liverpool to 90 minutes. They took them to stoppage time for Liverpool to beat them. So I think that they're riding a high. I think Mohamed has been playing right. I think the team that America is going to encounter is not the same team they encountered in the regular season. So I'm going to go Rayados, and here's how I'm going to go it. I'm going to go with it. Close match. I'm going to go with a 5-4 aggregate win.
You're putting a score on it.
5-4 aggregate. That's where I'm going.
Okay.
Rayados. Richard?
Okay. So I honestly think both of them have the pressure. On the one side, Mohamed after the final in 2017. That was the one, right? Or when did that happen?
We played Tigres?
Yeah, when y'all played Tigres.
17.
Yeah. So that after that, the fans are still a little bit shaky that he might do. But like honestly, he's been doing a pretty good job. But they still both him and Piojo have the pressure, if you will, because they haven't won anything relative this year. Like you said, Rayados is not going to get a chance to win the Club of World Cups. They only won the Champions League, but America they've lost every big match that they've had this tournament, the Leagues Cup, the Torneo against Atlanta, and now Piojo really has the pressure to win this match in.
Piojo won Campeón de Campeones in Cali against us.
That's right.
I would say someone zoom in on the shot that you're watching right now. Those of you who are watching, I want you to get that flag zoomed in behind Richard here. Sorry, go ahead.
But I mean, how do you think? Like, if you were to give a score, obviously I know who you're gonna pick, but if you were to give a score, how do you think it's gonna go?
Honestly, I think all the goal scoring is gonna happen in Monterrey, and that's where I think it's gonna be like 2-2, and it's all
like a 1-0 Azteca.
Yeah, 1-0.
The question is, what side of that 1-0 you're on, and I know where you're on.
Yeah, of course, America will score, and it might even happen in extra time. I think this game is gonna be played like a chess match. But
am I correct that on the finale like this?
No, if it goes
straight to extra time.
Yeah, so you lose all the advantages if you were higher in the table, if all the away goals.
Hey man, if there was ever a series that was a matchup that was built for a shootout in Azteca, I'm just saying, like, this is one that would be pretty epic if it was a shootout in Azteca.
Yeah, I honestly think they're gonna go to extra time, and it's gonna be because America's gonna force it. I don't see Monterrey being the one that wants to go to extra time. But again, like I said, America is the team that puts themselves in that position, and I think that they're gonna do it in the final as well. So I think they're gonna go to extra time, and that's where it's gonna break down.
Okay. Tiebreaker. I think I know where this is going, but go ahead. This is tougher. You are watching right now. He now is picking between his arch rival and the team that everybody in Mexico hates, except for their fans, Club America. So, this is not easy for Raul. Don't think just because he's a Tigres fan, he's automatically picking against just because it's Rayados.
I think Tigres and America have been pretty good rivals this decade.
I would say so too. Yeah, this decade.
Well, that's like a second Clásico. Our first Clásico was against Monterrey. Our second one is against America. But this is where I see it playing out. The first game in Monterrey, either Monterrey will win or they will end up tied.
Okay.
They will end up tied. Going to Azteca, the way I've seen America play quarter and semis, they've come back and they've won and they've advanced.
Mm-hmm.
Can they do it? It just depends on how they go out the first game. And it also depends on yellow cards too. Yellow cards affect the final too, but I can see, and it's folding out to be the way it did in 2014. 2014, it folded out this way.
Pulling out a random year.
2014, Pumas we were 8th place. Pumas was, I believe, 4th or somewhere up there. We beat them in penalties in their own home. There's a possibility that 8th place could do the same thing. It's folding out to be that way. But also in 2016, America lost to Tigres after coming from the World Cup of Clubs. But if I were to lean one way, and I'm going to believe in the Aztecaso. I'm going to believe in the Aztecaso because we did it. Aztecaso, Tigres came back, won 5-2 against America. I feel like Monterrey can come to Azteca.
And who was managing that team?
The Aztecaso, man. Don't take me back to those years. I wish I was there, man. No, but I actually believe that Monterrey could do it. Because America had trouble here and there.
Richard, send me the clip of that. I want to say that.
Because America had trouble with their defense here and there, and I think Mohamed has to change something up because he had Layun sitting on the bench against Liverpool, and he came in and everything changed. But you have to fix your lineup. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with Monterrey winning it.
All right.
I don't want them to, but if they do,
you don't want anybody to win. That's the point. But it's all right.
If anything, I want me to win, but I can't win. So it is what it is.
You know, and it's really sad though, because I think Tigres has been the team of the decade, and it just shows how some little things can change, and the way to close us.
6 championships in 10 years. I'll take it.
Yeah, you won enough, so let one of us let this guy win.
Somebody needs to take one.
Yeah. All right. Well, shifting gears, let's shift. We've alluded to World Cup of Clubs. We'll take too much time on this because we've been talking about it, and but I do want to update for those of you that are tuning in and talk about for a second. World Cup of Clubs is it's one of those, I call it's kind of a quirky tournament because you're taking all these federation champions, these club champions from their continents, and you're putting together at a weird time right around the holidays, and as we talked about before, this tournament automatically favors UEFA and CONMEBOL just because they automatically get to the semis. But for those who are not familiar with World Cup of Clubs, you have the champion from each continent. Plus the host country. It was in Qatar this year, so it was in the host of the capital of Doha. Their team, Al Sadd, is the winner of their domestic league. Got in, and so they start off by having a playoff against the champion from Oceania, from the Australia New Zealand region of the world. That was a team called Heinjene, which is from actually one of the few teams that has not been Australian or New Zealand. Now, we looked this up last episode. They're from New Caledonia, which is a random island just north of Australia. So that's actually the team. Unfortunately, they got murdered 3-1 by Al Sadd. It wasn't even that close. And that set up I guess you'd call them quarterfinals. This is where Monterrey entered against Al Sadd, the host, the champion of Asia, Al Hilal, which is a club from Saudi Arabia, and ES Tunis from Africa, the African champion, played each other. In that matchup, Al Hilal advanced 1-0, and Monterrey advanced 3-2. It was 3-0. They scared me. They came back with 2 goals. That set up the semifinals that we saw the last 2 days. First, we had Flamengo, who entered the picture, the champion of Copa Libertadores, faced up against Al Hilal, the Asian champion. They actually beat them 3-1 yesterday. And that set up one of the most interesting matches, in my opinion, today, Liverpool versus Monterrey in the other semifinal. Liverpool ended up winning 2-1, but that box score is deceiving. If you watched the game or saw the game, Liverpool scored in the 12th minute. Funes Mori scored in the 14th minute and responded for Monterrey. It was 1-1 from the 14th minute to the 90+2. At the 90+2, Fabinho came in and scored that goal that Liverpool needed. And so, of course, we predicted this at the beginning. We had our other things. It's Flamengo and Liverpool in the final this Saturday. Earlier this Saturday, you will see Al Hilal, the Asian champion, place Monterrey, with Monterrey with a chance to get a third-place finish.
So can we predict third place and who will win the final?
Yeah, so let's kind of jump in. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to comment on any other things. I mean, I think we can talk a little bit about today's game. But I think right off the bat, in terms of predictions for me personally, I think Monterrey can salvage something out of this. I don't think Al Hilal is that great of a team. I mean, they're good, but I think the question for me, and we were debating off air before we got on, was how much is Monterrey really going to invest this, knowing that they have the finale waiting for them at home.
Yeah.
I think they'll do just enough. I think they're good enough. I think they're in another league. I think they're above. They're just better than Al Hilal. I think they'll knock them off. Get out of there. Let's go back to Mexico. Let's go win us the final. But we take away a third place finish. But there's nothing to be, put your head down about. The final, Liverpool's a machine. Liverpool's a beast. They've been killing. They have a 10-point lead on first place in Premier League. They are about to steamroll through Champions League. I mean, I get it. However, for this tournament, and maybe someone here I know will disagree with me, maybe both, I'm actually going with Flamengo to take the win for the World Cup of Clubs this year over Liverpool, based off of what I've seen in the past 2 games. That's my prediction. So I'm predicting Flamengo first, Liverpool second, with Monterrey winning the third place.
I see. Okay, so the third place game, Monterrey versus Al Hilal. If Monterrey were to win, it's going to be in penalties. That's the way I see it. It'll be in penalties. If they win, it's going to be in penalties. Flamengo versus Liverpool. I can actually see Flamengo walking out, winning it all. And I would like to see Flamengo walk out and win it all because, I mean, to see a team from Brazil, because, I mean, we all know we've seen Brazil. We've seen them lose championships overall. But you get a club from Brazil, you get Flamengo. Flamengo, they've shown in the Libertadores, they came into the World Cup of Clubs strong. They can walk out and win it all. And to see a team like that from South America to win it all, you already know. Because Liverpool, they won the Champions League, which they already exploded over that. Mm-hmm. But to see Brazil, Flamengo win the whole thing, World Cup of Clubs, and take it back home, that's extraordinary. So I'm going Flamengo first, Liverpool second, Monterrey third with the third place. How do you see it?
I thought Monterrey was gonna win. I even went live on Instagram and said that I thought they were gonna win or they were gonna go to extra time, and they almost did for a while. And then I stepped over to the dryer and the 92nd minute, But historically, though, the Brazilian teams have been doing pretty good in this tournament. Where the last time that any team other than a UEFA team won was in 2012, and it just so happened to be the Corinthians who beat Chelsea. So here we go. We have a Brazilian team, an English team, and it just so happened that in 2012, Monterrey also played that World Cup of Clubs. And the fourth place was an African team. So I think it's gonna. I honestly, at this point, I don't care who wins.
No, but I mean, who would you give your first place to?
I would give it to Liverpool because they did show something at the end of this game, and it's just that they weren't really out there to put the pressure for Monterrey. They were just really waiting to see what Monterrey could do. And then once the Liverpool made the substitutes enough to win the game, I mean, Firmino was only there for 5 minutes, and he scored the winning goal. They really put the pressure. People were asking on Twitter where was the two players involved in that play, and
you have Shaqiri and Origi, but
they have
he made a difference. So I'll give him that.
So I think Liverpool is gonna win. Flamengo will be second, and Monterrey third, and Al Hilal fourth. Yeah.
Well, so you guys agree, and then I'm the one that's putting Flamengo, Liverpool, and Monterrey.
No, I went
Flamengo. Sean went Flamengo. I'm the only one. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the other problem is, I just have a bigger problem with this tournament. I mean, I feel like FIFA's missing a huge opportunity here because I think there's a hunger there for the club's competitions, and this ain't cutting it. I'm sorry, it's not that exciting. It hasn't been hyped up. It was not properly televised. It wasn't properly promoted, and it needs to be expanded. At least put 16 teams. Do a mini 16 instant knockout. And I don't know how you do it. Get the champions of 16 different leagues and divide it proportionally by continent. Give Oceania 1, give Africa 2, give Asia 3, give, Europe, freaking 6 or whatever, give South America 3, how it adds up. Give us 2. I was talking to him about this. It doesn't work exactly because the MLS season is different, whatever, but we can make it work.
Right.
And I'm just it'd be so much more worth it to see an actual competition. Because come on, Flamengo and Liverpool haven't really been. I mean, the first challenge that was faced today was Liverpool facing Monterrey, and even then, it was, I wouldn't say on a scale of 1 to 10, they were probably challenged at a 6 or 7.
Right.
Well, it'd be pretty cool. Okay, so I mean, say you walk away basically with the top 3 of Champions League, the top 3 of CONCACAF Champions League, and then you have the top 3 of each other league. That would be pretty interesting because I mean, you walk away with Liverpool, Barcelona, Real Madrid. You walk away with America, Real, and Tigres. And then you walk with, you can't forget the Kashima Antlers and all the Kashima Antlers. Kashima Antlers, and I mean, you also have Boca, River Plate, Flamengo.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it adds, it'll make it more interesting.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if we would have had, let's say, Flamengo, River Plate, Boca, Monterrey, Tigres America, Liverpool, Barcelona, and...
Well, why do you think?
Tottenham, because they were the runner.
As we're going to talk about in a second, why do you think the number 1 Champions League is Champions League in Europe? Because it's the teams, the quality. I mean, and the second place would be Copa Libertadores because of the quality of teams
and the fan base.
Yeah, I mean, come on, expand it. So,
and I hope that they move the FIFA World Cup of Clubs somewhere else, like somewhere more like I don't want to say modernized, but somewhere where you can actually get people to show up. Because who in Mexico, South America, and stuff is gonna fly all the way to Qatar?
Apparently,
well, look,
a good amount, but
I get now that they're choosing the host country for the next World Cup. Like, it makes sense so people can start getting acquainted.
But is it a bidding war?
No, they're hosting 2022. So this is like a warm up run for them.
Right.
Just like the Federation's Cup in a couple of years will be another warm up.
Yeah.
Or another year. Right?
So they don't have bidding wars or anything, right?
No, I mean the only thing that they were trying to do for the World Cup itself was trying to see if they can get Qatar to removed as host. That's a whole different.
Because they have to play. They have to play in. I think they have to start in December.
That's why the World Cup's going to be in freaking December, not the summer, because of the heat.
Right.
It's just stupid.
Which, I mean, they had rain.
Oh yeah, so they're in the
games.
heat and we're in the cold. Well, semi-cold, but we're in the cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears real quick. I just want to give a quick Dynamo update. Some of these you'll find humorous. If you guys have any comments, just chime in. But I've listed 5 things that you should care about right now involving the Dynamo, and 4 for the Dynamo and 1 for the MLS. And if you guys have anything to add, chime in. As we know, MLS is an off season. We're still watching. There's been a few signings here or there. There's been some Mexican players who moved to the MLS. We're still waiting to see what else pans out there. There's a lot of moves to happen. We still have a long time. It's like extended. It's one of the longest. It is the longest off season out of the leagues. So one thing I noticed, just this is random, not even to do with the team. If you're going to Dynamo for going to the stadium, go to BVA for a game this year, they finally replaced, after a guy complained about it for 3 years, that crappy video screen out there is finally being replaced with a larger, nicer, high-definition video screen.
Yeah,
so they're actually spending money. Yes, we may not be spending money on players, but we'll get high def of any losses that we have. Okay. Number 2, Dynamo still need, guess what? A goalie. We don't have one of those. There's not one of those in existence. The Dynamo still need a keeper. We will see what happens. There have been some rumors out there. There's been some very exciting rumors, but we'll see. And I still think they need a midfielder. They made some moves, but what I'm seeing right now is the ownership going back to its old ways. They're spending money, but not spending smart money. There's dumb money and smart money, and right now we still have some dumb money. We were smart for a while. And that's that. Opening day matchups were announced. Your Houston Dynamo will be opening up against LA Galaxy on February 29th. Yes, that's not a mistake. February 29th. It's a leap year in 2020. So they'll be hosting the Galaxy, and their first road game is against Sporting KC. Also, what else did the Dynamo spend money on? Mini pitches. Yes, you heard that right. Mini pitches.
Cascaritas.
They have promised 15 mini pitches in the city of Houston because that, fans, will save soccer in the city of Houston. Now, I don't know what to say to that. Like, okay, cool, thanks. But this idea of, like, there's been so many memes they've been roasted by Dynamo fans. And it's like, save the mini pitches, give me an international designated player. Like, I get what they're trying to do. It's part of the bigger picture that Tab Ramos, the new manager, is behind, which is cultivating and accelerating the culture of soccer in this town. But I don't know what y'all's thoughts are. I mean, maybe you guys will have a more positive outlook. Yeah, it's cool, but like the way they're trumping it up, it's like cool. Mini soccer fields. Go win a freaking game for us.
I mean, I think this is more of a marketing stunt in the sense that like they're trying to promote this more than it needs to be. Like, well, the idea behind it is amazing because you're thinking about the future.
I think it's more just trying to get the name out there.
Right. Like I think because they're trying to shove the name down there for us, it's more of like, well, okay, but like we want us to focus more on the actual sport. Which I mean they are, so I think it's just more of a marketing thing where they're pushing it more than.
I will say this: I'll give Ramos credit that he also enrolled. I think he's huge for our developmental system. I think our academy is going to benefit big time.
Right.
But like, and I like his idea of wanting to tap into the soccer culture of the town. But like I said, yes, we have a huge Latino community that is soccer crazy. But you're not going to sway them or make them add additional dedication, right? Because they argue, well, we're not trying to take them away from their, your Tigres, Rayados, your America fans. We just want you to add Dynamo as your MLS team. You guys know as best because you know your fan groups. I know my fan base. What we respect is winning,
right,
and good players, and so
and playoffs.
You can talk to us all you want and say that you're catering this and have Taco Tuesday night for all I care. If you want to really pander, because they're pandering. They're pandering to this point. If that's what they want to do, then fine. But if you don't win, it ain't gonna stick.
Mm-hmm.
Offer some cheap seats for like 3 or 4 games that they did last year. You saw that worked out last year.
7-1-3 deals.
Yeah. See how that worked last year? It put seats in for a couple games, but it didn't keep them there. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the best signing that they could have done, they did it in the forward. To help Christian Ramirez was Darwin Quintero.
I say it was a good signing.
What I think is, okay, MLS, instead of going to Europe and South America, they're going down to Mexico and they're getting players from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So they're bringing quality players down to the U.S. That's what they're doing, and that's what I feel like Dynamo should do: go down to Mexico and find a cheap player that plays midfield.
Stop there. Don't go to Central America. Stop. Because they skip over Mexico and they go straight to Honduras and El Salvador.
No, stop in Mexico. Get you a free agent midfielder and develop them here. But I think Dynamo has made the moves. They got rid of their coach. They made the moves that they needed to make. And with like the whole the futsal fields that they're building and stuff, they're just trying to put their name out there, which is fine. I understand. But what the fans want, they want to win games. They want to go to playoffs. And I actually see them.
That's every sport in Houston. They get behind winners here. That's it.
Yeah. Look, but I can see
we are fair weather fans this time.
But I can see Dynamo doing something this upcoming season.
And look,
I see them doing
also something to note is that 2006 was when they started, and 15 years is coming up next year.
That's
so I mean, I think with Tab Ramos, I think the larger picture might just be to actually keep him in the long run, like as much as they have for Wilmer. Like I think Tab Ramos is probably a 5-year thing with perspective for the Dynamo.
This coach could be like Tuca for the Tigres. They could be in the run for the decade coming up, and they could win champion after champion after championship. So I mean,
because last decade it was Pachuca.
But the only thing I'll counter that is not to rain on y'all spray a little bit, but I think the one thing that I would say to that, and this is coming from a Dynamo fan, is that my one concern is that I think we're behind an arms race. And the arms race is for hardcore fans and culture. Right. And we're behind it when it comes to Seattle, to Portland, LAFC, LA Galaxy, Atlanta, Red Bulls. Yeah, I would say even Miami now. Dallas. I would say Dallas.
Tennessee coming up too.
So I think we need to do something because Austin not next year but the year afterwards. Right. We have another team in Texas to compete with. Right. So if you're gonna make a move this year and solidify your territory and really stake out your ground, this is the year to do it because you're gonna have a new Texas team join us. It's gonna become a crowded league and a crowded market.
Right. And even if we go over to the NWSL teams as well, the Portland and North Carolina teams have a solid fan base.
Oh yeah,
that are filling up stadiums. They're the same as the men's. So
I mean, I'm like off and on it, but like I've thought about it. Like if I didn't go for Tigres, honestly, and I was just like a soccer fan, or if I were to be part of Tigres and then I like moved away, if I could take over Dynamo's fan base, I would, because I have experience in Mexico and I know how to. I seen how they built that, and I'd be able to build it here. But I mean, I'm more of like a hooligan. Like I'm more of like a hooligan style. So like, okay, we're gonna be a fan base, but if we're gonna be a fan base, we're gonna have away days, we're gonna have home days, we have tailgating, we have color and stuff. But I just can't do that because I'm part of Tigres. So, but I mean, there's a right way to do it, and they need leaders. The leaders, we've even seen the leaders show up 20 minutes late to their games, man. Like you need to be there 20 minutes before the game.
So if you're watching this on playback, or if you're watching this live and you want to hire his services, slide into his DMs.
I'm gonna make a fake email for you guys because I don't need my real email going out because people know it. All right? No, but Dynamo, you have a lot to grow.
You got a lot of haters out there, so.
Yeah, I have a lot of enemies in Houston.
All you America fans out there and other people who hate in Mexico, not Houston, in Mexico.
Well, I got Mexico, and if I expand here, I'm gonna have United States and South America. So hey, take it easy, all right, guys.
Hola.
And the last thing, kind of thinking about something you're saying about going for Mexican players. One positive I like what the MLS is doing is, and you mentioned this, I like that the All-Star game is now going to be permanently. It's going to be MLS All-Stars, which is Liga MX All-Stars. So that's a fun.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to next year. I know that
we'll come back to that. Save it.
So just to note,
do we know where they're going to do it at? Or?
Well, I mean,
they're
still going to rotate the All-Star game.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
The location is in the town. It's like
it's in LA. Yeah, it's in LA because they had an LAFC. It's going to be played at Bank of California Stadium.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it'll be.
I mean, it's a little good mix-up. I mean, you don't have Barcelona with their all-stars showing up.
Well, the Liga MX president, he said he was going to spoil the 20th or 25th anniversary of or what is it going to be? 25th anniversary.
25th for the League, the MLS. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Sure. 25th year of the MLS.
And yesterday it was their 25th. Yeah, 26.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's a good mix-up for us. I mean, it should be pretty interesting. MLS, basically like U.S. Mexico type thing.
I think it's a game that more people in the United States will watch.
Right.
Oh yeah, because I mean, you bring your MLS fans, and you also bring.
They've been trying to trim up like other sports have like an All-Star weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They got skills contests, this and that. There are more fans who will go see Liga MX All-Stars with MLS All-Stars. I mean, especially if you do it in places like LA. And what's nice about that is that Houston would be a great host city going forward if they keep doing that the next couple of years. I love to see Houston.
Now that they have the new futsal.
All-Star. Yeah. Now that we have mini pitches, we can have 15 mini All-Star games. Oh, God. I'm going to get started on that. All right. Shifting gears. Next, second to last big topic. We're going to give a rundown here at Champions League, the Champions League in Europe, the big one. They finally got down to 16 teams. They're going to start the knockout rounds of 16 in February. So the first two legs, first leg is going to be over 2 days of February 18th and 19th. Leg 2 is a week later on February 25th, 26th. So February is going to be, we'll get down to 8 teams by the end of that. So what I want to do, guys, I want to go through real fast. We'll go down the line. I'm going to go through each matchup. And I'll start with who's starting at home, leg 1 and leg 2. And you guys tell me what do you think about that matchup and who you think is going to come out and advance to the top 8. So, number 1. Starting off at home, Atletico Madrid is hosting Liverpool. And then reverse a month later, they'll be playing Liverpool at Atletico Madrid. I'm going to go Liverpool, of course, but I'll let y'all see if you want to give Atletico an argument.
I'm going to go with Liverpool. Eventually, they're going to get their stuff together, so, I mean, they'll be able to advance. So, I'm going Liverpool.
Yeah, if we're going based on how they were doing this season, I think Liverpool, without a doubt.
Yeah, But at the same time, though, how bad do you feel for Atletico Madrid? I feel like they're like the little brother that can never break through.
It's because Atletico is like it's always there. It's like please pair me up against Napoli, and then it's like I get Liverpool.
I mean,
They're like Cruz Azul.
I know for a fact.
I wouldn't go that.
I know for a fact that I know for a fact that they won at Atlanta, but we got Liverpool. So I mean, you get what you get, but I feel bad for them. But you have a shot at the.
And I misspoke. I apologize. The first leg is in February. The second leg is in March. So that was my bad on that.
Yeah.
So we all three are going. We're going Liverpool. Curiosity, let's just cut to the chase here because we'll have later shows on this as we progress. I'm saying Liverpool's going to repeat as Champions League.
Oh.
Are y'all that? I mean, I'm confident enough to say Liverpool's going to repeat. I'm just saying.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going to put that out there. If you guys want to join me, that's up to you. But I'm just going to say Liverpool's going to repeat. I mean, I just think they're that damn strong.
I'm the opposite on that.
Yeah.
I'm choosing somebody else. If I were to choose somebody, well, you'll find out who I'm choosing later.
Let's get through.
Yeah.
Liverpool's my pick to run the table.
Wow. Okay.
Next up, so Dortmund survived the group of death.
Yeah.
The Inter Milan was the one that lost out in that battle, and poor Slavia Praha from Czech Republic.
Yeah.
They got stuck in that matchup. Dortmund survives only to be matched up against the one and only PSG. So Dortmund and PSG are our second matchup of the 16. Can Dortmund knock off PSG?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Cinderella story. We're gonna have a lot of Cinderella stories.
Two different opinions here. Richard going very firmly. And why do you think Dortmund is going to be the Cinderella story?
Well, personally, I just don't like PSG.
Okay.
But that's more of a one. But honestly, Dortmund, because they survived the death group, I feel like they now have a sort of like a little shtick with them where they're like, you know what, we can actually do this now. Like they can believe that they can do anything at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, you got a team like PSG coming up, and
I think
PSG's just strong.
I think Mbappe is going to Mbappe all over. I'm just saying. I just turned Mbappe into a verb. That's it.
Wow.
No, but it's because PSG is just strong overall.
Wow, they just got Mbappe. Yeah, exactly. They got
Yeah.
Mbappe. I'm sorry. I just think. Okay, put it this way. PSG is one of those teams that PSG, I think, will get not only to the round of 8, probably to the final 4, but they're not going to. They'll blow it.
They won't make it to the final.
But PSG, well, it depends who they're matched up with. But I think PSG can handle Dortmund.
Wait, did Buffon go back to PSG?
No, he's
still
gone.
with.
Keylor Navas is in PSG.
Okay, so he's done. Okay.
Yeah,
but
Gianluigi's back in
if
Juventus.
Buffon is over there with PSG, well, who knows?
Yeah,
I'm
Buffon is in Juventus.
I'm going PSG. I'm going PSG over Dortmund.
All right, I'm going PSG.
Okay, so we're split on that 2-1. Now this is an interesting one. How the fate turns. We are going to get someone who's probably traditionally would not be in the final 8. We have Atalanta from Italy versus the Spanish League 1 Valencia. So Valencia versus Atalanta. Both teams basically rioted their fans because they were so happy they got into the 16. This is, if you want to count a toss-up, this would be a toss-up. The odds, the odds do favor, they're saying Atalanta. I like the experts saying that. They're actually, I love this first match, over a quarter is saying it's going to be a draw. That's what they can't even decide. Yeah.
You know what Atlanta is like? They're like Ajax.
They
could be the Ajax.
And I was very disappointed that Ajax didn't make it this year.
Sadly, yeah.
And so I thought they got robbed. But
no, but they're in a position of being like Ajax.
That's
Nobody
true.
Expected Ajax, but look at Ajax. They climbed up. They didn't make it that far, but I mean, look at Ajax.
I think Atalanta's quite the story.
They've had a good year this year.
But see, at the same time, Valencia is also one of those.
Valencia's always been up there. They never make it to the.
But they're like it's the Atletico Madrid story. Once we get past Barca and Real Madrid, it's always these three: Atletico, Sevilla, Valencia is always around there. And I feel so bad. They finally get a chance, and it's like here we are going. No, I want to go for Atlanta. And Atlanta's not doing bad. They're the same way in Serie A.
Yeah.
They always sit around in that 5th, 6th, 7th spot.
No, so I mean, I feel like Atlanta.
They're better than Napoli.
I can actually see Atlanta advance. They're like the Ajax. I feel like they're gonna pull an Ajax and they might go advance.
All right, so you're going Atalanta?
Yeah.
The thing with me that worries me is that Atalanta is not closing at home.
Sure, yeah.
because that's exactly how they beat Juventus earlier this year for the Coppa Italia. They actually beat Juventus and won the whole thing by being home. So I think the advantage that Valencia is closing at home, and they were the first on the group. I think Valencia is going to the next round.
But I believe the past year, this Ajax, they didn't close at home against, I think it was Juventus. They closed away.
Here's the other reason I'm going with. I'm actually going with Valencia because of their look at who they played in their group. Valencia played Chelsea, Ajax, and Lille in there. And if you look at Atalanta, they actually had. I think they finished second to Man City. Who they were in there? Shakhtar Donetsk, they were in the 16 last year, and Dynamo Zagreb. I think that the tougher group was what Valencia had. Now that doesn't mean anything I don't get now, but I do changes. But I do think Valencia. I'm impressed they finished number one in a group that featured Chelsea and Ajax. Yeah. I'm just saying, and Chelsea's the other team that advanced there. So you saw how close it was in the standings, 11-10. Yeah. So I'm gonna go Valencia on that. You're going Atlanta or Valencia?
I'm going Atlanta.
And you're going Valencia.
All right. 2-1 again.
2-1 the other way on that. Next up, we have a Premier League team, Tottenham. They're not old news to Champions League, but Leipzig is they've been in up there before. They're currently doing very good in Bundesliga, but what do y'all think with Tottenham and Leipzig? Is Tottenham going to repeat and fight their way back up towards the top?
I don't have any faith in Tottenham, honestly. I'm going to Leipzig. Look, for some reason, Tottenham just kind of fell off. I don't know why. Like, they were solid, but something about Tottenham just fell off. So I'm going Leipzig because, Leipzig is not like...
And on top of that, Leipzig's number one in the Bundesliga. Their last 5 matches, they're undefeated. They've been winning like crazy. They've had a draw and 4 wins in the last 5 games. They've been killing. They're sitting at 34 points, 4 ahead of Bayern and Dortmund, and what's turned into a battle. Bundesliga is actually turned into one of the best leagues to watch right now. If you look at rankings, because Leipzig and Mönchengladbach are the 2 tied for first.
Oh, they were the team last year, huh?
And Bayern and Dortmund are at 30, Schalke 04 at 29. It's turned into a freaking fist fight in the Bundesliga, and Leipzig is holding their own. So I'm with you. I'm Leipzig.
I mean, if you can hold it down against Bayern and Dortmund, you got it locked. I mean, Tottenham's a good opponent, but I'm going Leipzig on this one.
Yeah, I'm also going Leipzig. This is their first time going into this stage, and I think they're a pretty attractive team out of the Red Bulls. They also have Salzburg, but yeah. But Leipzig over Tottenham, yeah,
they're in 5th. I mean, look at them. They're at the bottom.
I mean, Tottenham doesn't have as much as what do we call it in English, like depth in their team. So yeah, no way they're going back home and winning that game.
Next matchup, so that's the first half. We have Chelsea playing Bayern Munich. Bayern, as I mentioned, was number 3 in the Bundesliga right now, with Chelsea being number 4 in the Premier League. This one, oddly, and if it was other years, I would say Bayern was a clear favorite. But for some weird reason, this is kind of a toss-up for me. Just on the year, Bayern's having an off year. So good. I mean, off for them is still good.
Right.
Chelsea's hanging around there. Chelsea is not what they used to be, but they're not as bad as they got a couple years ago. This is going to come down to, a goal. Really at that. And, I think I'm going to give a slight edge to Bayern in this of experience, but I'm not confident. I'm going to go with Bayern, but not strongly.
I feel like this is the time that Bayern got paired up with a team to where it's even, because the other years they always get paired up with a team that always takes advantage of them. But this is the year I'm taking Bayern because, well, there's one part of me that I just don't want to see Chelsea advance. But Bayern, they're equal, so you might be able to pass through them, take advantage of them.
Yeah, could happen.
Yeah, well, I think Chelsea, they were the Europa League champs.
Sure. We still got Europa going on too, so.
And they're still building their team, and it seems like it's slowly paying off. Like it wasn't this big crazy move that they did. Like it's been slowly. They've been getting a lot of developed players.
They've had to do a little bit of a rebuild.
Since 2015, I mean, they've been
Yeah.
cutting, building.
And a lot of players left who wanted to leave, and now it seemed like that helped out the team. So I think I'm going for Chelsea. I'm not that confident either, but at the same time, I haven't seen Bayern done anything significant.
That's a matchup that's up for grabs.
Yeah, that's a toss-up.
Yeah.
Next one, and personally, I don't think it's a toss-up, but I'll get what y'all think is. We have Napoli taking on Barcelona. I don't care what they say about Barcelona. I think Barca's. Get this. It's like they just take my words for it. Maybe I'll eat them later. Barca's going to steamroll Napoli. Steamroll Napoli. I'm sorry. Napoli is not what they used to be. They're not. They lost a few guys. They're not the goal scoring machine they were in Serie A. Zero defense on that team.
Yeah.
Zero defense.
Chucky.
They're all about scoring. And really, you want to get those scoring battle with Barcelona? Okay, go ahead. Good luck. Good luck is all I'm going to say.
I'm going Barca, but I feel like Napoli could be like Roma. Napoli could be a Roma. Because, I mean, we've seen Roma eliminate Barca, so it's just like, well, anything's up for grabs. But, I mean, Barcelona is trying to achieve some things, so I could see them trying to achieve something. They want to get back to the World Cup with clubs, obviously, but I'm going to go with Barca on this one.
Well, I think now that you mentioned that, and then just like Sean mentioned earlier, who their team is there to pick for Liverpool. I think Barcelona, not just because I'm a decent fan, but Barcelona I think is the team that's gonna take it all. They're gonna take the Champions League, the Copa del Rey, and the league. Just like they did 10 years ago.
I don't know what it is, but for some reason I think it's a statement. I think it's going to be a statement year for Barcelona, and I think that, and I say that with they've been flying under the radar so far, and because right now they're in a deadlock tie with Real Madrid, they're not cruising and they're having to fight. For some reason, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's one of the last few years. You're going to see the Messi Suarez combo. Like I just feel like this is going to be a statement year for them.
Well, it's like I said when I said Real Madrid, when Ronaldo was still there. Barca had a bad year. At the beginning of the year, it's Real Madrid's year. What did they took over it.
Right.
So I feel like this year could be Barcelona's year. I can see them taking it.
And it finally took after a couple of weeks. I mean, before this match, like Griezmann, Suarez, and Messi trio is actually pairing off. So I mean, I honestly just like you said, they're gonna steamroll through Napoli. They're gonna steamroll to whoever comes next. They're gonna be on that final. That's what I'm saying.
Draw the following.
They'll redraw again after this. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm actually glad they do a redraw. It just doesn't fall into certain places.
It's not an automatic.
It's not a calculated risk, if you will.
Next up, speaking of Ronaldo, do the mighty team, I don't know what they call themselves, from Lyon, have any chance against Juventus?
No, Juventus all the way.
I don't know how they got into the 16.
After seeing Juventus' vertical or Cristiano Ronaldo's vertical jumping, no.
Juventus is going to advance pretty easily.
Juventus advances, yeah.
This would be a huge upset.
Yes.
Monumental upset. Don't tell me you're picking the monumental upset.
No. But I'm going to make a case for them because, surprisingly, we have to remember, sometimes teams, they give up in a way. I feel like they give up on the league because they know it'll be unattainable. But where they do focus their strengths are on competitions like these. And Lyon has been doing pretty good not here. And like the previous tournaments, just like Europa League. No, I said not the league, right? I said not the league.
Right.
I knew they weren't doing good.
Why you Lion?
I'm just saying. All right.
So they have no chance of winning the league, but they cannot focus on this. So
this last game's a big game.
All right, last game.
This is a big
interesting matchup. Real Madrid, who is currently tied for first with Barca in La Liga, versus Man City, who's currently in third in the Premier League. Two teams who have historically done well in champions, who have won champions, faced each other in our last matchup. This is a hard one for me. God, if you made me pick today, I'm gonna go Man City. Man City, because I think that we have had our doubts with some of the other Premier League teams, except for Liverpool. I think if there's any other team besides Liverpool from the Premier League that's going to do something, it's Man City.
Yeah, I'm going Man City. I mean, they're basically an underdog. They're the underdog against Real Madrid. But if you
That's
know that
weird.
if they beat Real Madrid, they can go all the way. So I give them that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of stake here for Man City, just because previous years they've been the top dog, the top team, and now they're picking up. Just I think they're in like fourth place or third place in the league, and
Third place, yeah.
and people are starting to question Pep Guardiola as a coach.
Yeah,
So I
that's true.
think for him, back when they were top teams of the league, they wanted them to win the Champions League, and
It's like a
unfortunately
make
they
or
didn't.
break situation. Yeah.
Right.
Make
So
or
I
break.
feel like for them, this game has a lot of stake, and I think they're going to be able to pull it off. I don't see Real Madrid having that much depth that Man City does have in their roster.
So we're all three Man City.
Yeah, I
We're
think
all
that's
Man
the one
City.
the one match we
So-
agree.
It'll be interesting. We'll see after late. We'll have our actually when we have our anniversary show, we'll not be down to our final eight
Mm-hmm.
on the 14th of March. Our next two episodes probably won't happen before then, but something interesting. Before I get into our last segment, kind of a specialist episode 30 to 2019.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have anything else you want to highlight, or should we jump right into our best, worst, and looking forward to?
Well, I know these ended early, but I do want to get a chance to talk about the NWSL championship match. North Carolina won again after winning last year's championship. They became the 2019 champions. And I'm honestly, the only thing I'm begging for is more teams to come. And I think it's part of a new deal that new expansion teams that are coming to the MLS are going to start providing NWSL teams to play, just like Austin, Tennessee. Hopefully Miami does too.
But I think that's what they're trying to bring men's team there. You got women's, men's, women's, men's. So I think that's what they're trying to do.
Right.
Because I think every other team already has a women's and men's team. So.
Well, everyone except the North Carolina Courage, I think.
Yeah.
And Washington
And
has a decent.
North Carolina is in the league to be one of the
Mhm.
league contenders for one of the last men's teams to
Right.
come in. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, so I mean,
So honestly, it was a great season for them. It was very surprising the way they literally destroyed Chicago. Chicago came in. It was going to be their first time to win this title. A lot of people were thinking they were going to win, and they got squashed. And just showed the lack of depth that the rest of these teams have. A lot of the suppliers for the U.S. women's national team come from North Carolina.
I mean, it's because you see a name like Chicago and you expect them to be top notch,
Right.
and then if you go in and you like North Carolina comes in and beats them, it's like, well, I guess Chicago's not top notch like we expected.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's understandable, but I mean, hey, shout out to North Carolina, man. You're growing something. You might be better than the men's team coming up, so who knows?
Yeah, and honestly, it was really, really good to see like also international stars from North Carolina also being shown, like Dabinia, a Brazilian player who's probably going to be taking over after Martha leaves.
Yeah.
So she really showed us a lot of potential, and it was a really great match. I was able to see it.
They
Yeah,
have a lot to build on. Yeah, they have something to work with and build on.
and hopefully,
I still think it's a league though that's going to be fighting a lot. Like I said, they need to get the fan support, and like I said, the pay structure is so way off for players.
Oh yeah.
Trying to make a living out of this is hard. You look at what they get paid is crap. So I think there's a good little base there. I just think it's going to take some time to build out of that. So yeah, I think it's worth it. I think one thing that I would be interested to see. I think the WSL could benefit from reaching out to their Mexican counterparts. Because I think even though the women's game is not as respected, obviously as the men's game in Mexico, it still has made a lot more progress.
Right.
And I think some of those teams, I think it'd benefit. I think it'd be interesting to see the Tigres and Monterrey women's teams playing more friendlies and exposition games against the North Carolina.
Like if they did like a Leagues Cup with the
Yeah.
women's team.
It'd
Well,
be interesting.
and I'll be sharing a little bit more about that as we wrap up as well. And
Well, let's get right into it then. Let's get into it. I want to get into our final segment. So since it's our last episode of 2019, there are three things that I wanted all three of us guys to go through. Our picks for what we feel like were the best soccer stories, and the restriction was anything with soccer. So that's a huge category. Anything that you felt was kind of the best storyline or thing of 2019. What do you think was the worst and most disappointing thing of 2019? And you can define worst and just whatever you want. And then the last thing is what are you looking forward to most? And there's a lot to look forward to in 2020, but I think all three of us, thinking about this, have three very different approaches to it. So let's jump in. I'll start us off with what I think was one of the best stories of 2019. For me, it was actually a toss-up. It was a tie. And I actually went between the men's and women's game. For me, it was the men's game, their Champions League run this in 2019, ending in May, and their dominance was just a cool story to see. And Mo Salah and some of those guys finally getting, I think, the accolades that they deserve, and they're just killing it. But also, just in general, it's not really a specific story, but I think the women's game, because of the World Cup, took an incredible step forward. I think you're seeing it being reflected in some of these domestic leagues. And I think if the women's game grows, it only benefits the game, period. So it actually default benefits the men's game. It benefits the game, period. So those two things I think were the best takeaways for me from soccer in 2019. Richard, what did you have for 2019?
I think for me, there was a lot of stuff going on. But just to piggyback off for the women's soccer, I think it was a really great year. And after the World Cup, we noticed that I noticed that the NWSL actually got a new contract for their next season with ESPN to start televising the games on ESPN too, and hopefully that starts bringing in some revenue as well. But it was the year of both Megan Rapinoe and Lionel Messi as kings of the game. On the one side, we have someone who defied all the barriers of being LGBT and being a woman and a strong woman in the U.S. women's national team, Megan Rapinoe, who shattered everybody who they came across in the World Cup. And on the other hand, we have Leo Messi, who, on top of his age and being criticized, he won the Ballon d'Or, making it 6, more than Ronaldo. And at the age that he is, a lot of people are saying.
And I love that he admitted that it bugged him when Ronaldo tied him.
Yeah.
I love that. I love how frank and honest he was. Because most guys would be like, oh no, he deserved it. That's cool. And it's like, no, that freaking bugged me.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was awesome, and he it motivated him.
Right, and that was a great way to end the decade because he started the decade winning the Ballon d'Or too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I didn't like that. So.
yeah, and Carlos Vela, another player who
That's a cool story too.
yeah, I know a lot of us might not share how great he was in the past, but honestly, he broke every single record that he could in the MLS this year,
That's true.
and potentially being a new signing for Barcelona. Which, I mean, if it doesn't happen, we'll still have him here in the MLS as well. So
It's something literally you think about. Literally, if LFC could have won that title,
Well, he would have been gone.
then it would have been like there would have been nothing else for him to conquer.
Right.
Yeah, and that's something that I guess the only thing that could hold him is that okay, do you want to win a title?
Right.
I don't know. It's up to I think money will talk in the end.
Yes.
So, Ro, your best story or stories if you have a tie of 2019.
Well, I have two, which like with you, like the women's soccer, women's national team, USA.
Mm-hmm.
They actually
4 World Cups.
for World Cups, and for them
Back to back.
to like come and do that, they're a solid team. Obviously, you're gonna lose a few players, but you have a lot to build on.
Yeah.
And you also have rivalries building up in Europe and all over the place because some of those teams aren't pushover teams. So I give them that. They're a strong team. And I mean, you got 4 World Cups under your belt. You have nothing to prove. You have 4.
Yeah.
And then the second one is I am finally proud to see Liverpool win because you don't have to see a Barca winning back to back, a Real Madrid winning back. You get something different. And I mean, obviously seeing Liverpool win is like, well, I mean, man, like you don't. It's one of those teams that you don't expect to see up there right away. You probably would have seen maybe a Man U or a Man City before Liverpool. So to see them, they had already won it twice before. So for them to end like the curse of Real Madrid, Barca winning consecutively, I'm happy with that. And the third would be Flamengo winning the Libertadores. It's not Boca, it's not River, so take it. Somebody can take it besides them.
So flip it. You run. Let's have you go right and run it back for us. The most disappointing or worst story of 2019. The most epic failure, if you will, 2019.
Oh my God.
Epic failure.
Would be, well, for me, well, it depends on like the leagues that I'm branching out into.
You pick whoever you want. I already got mine.
Well, or so like one of the leagues that I watch the most is Liga MX. The most like the poorest I've seen, well not poorest, but that I'm surprised that they didn't do better is. Nah, I'm not even gonna bring Chivas into this. I'm sorry, but it's America. America. In a decade, you would see them at least take 5. They didn't take that many, so it's more of like
this guy went on. He went beyond 2019. He went decade.
Wow.
On you. He went decade on you.
no. But even this year, I mean, you can normally see at least America winning 1 out of like the 3 or so. But it's like they didn't take much. But I mean, it's fine. They're in a building stage that we're taking here and there, and for the year, I mean. Hey, I'm taking my theaters, man.
You'll take the L.
I won. We won. If we're gonna base off decade or year, I mean, we basically ended the year winning something. So I'm happy with that.
For me, and Rich, I'll let you close this out.
Right.
For me, and no surprise, you guys have gotten used to it. You should have, if you follow this page, you've gotten used to my rants and my endless dogging of what you would call a team as the Houston Dynamo, and I say that as a fan. Disappointing. You want to talk about what this team was supposed to be? Congratulations, you ended up being pathetic by the end of the year. Now, we talked about some good things, but think about it. If there was ever a team that was made to be successful and showed us success, starting off undefeated with on fire to start the season in the month of June, to utterly implode, it's the Houston Dynamo. Between the lack of play on field, the mess that is ownership, the crap. I want to forget 2019 as a Dynamo fan. Even compared to I want to get back to how it was 2018. We were at the highest of highs, and you just took us to 2019 to the lowest of lows. Couldn't even get out of the group stage really round to defend our U.S. Open Cup. I mean, just an utter embarrassment. And so, yes, they've taken steps to fix it with the coaching and some good signings, but I am praying that 2020 actually comes through. Because right now, Dynamo fans are down in the pits. They're at the lowest of lows right now. Tab Ramos, Darwin Quintero, it's on y'all to help rise us up with Motto and all the other guys. Find us a goalkeeper. Do something. I don't know. But, the 7-1-3 deal gimmicks and mini pitches aren't going to be enough to satisfy Houston soccer. And quite frankly, this city deserves more as a sports town, as a soccer town, as a community, period. So, disappointing. Take a shotgun, take it out back, shoot the 2019 season right in the head, and let it just die out there because I'm done with it. I'm finished. I'm on 2020. We're coming back. New decade, new year, new you, new decade, new team. Here we go.
Bring back 713 deals. I like my $3 beers. I love that. That's all I want. If you can serve it outside, I'll take it.
If you do it without the 4 hot dog limit per transaction, then I'll do it. That's some bullcrap with the 2 beers and 4 hot dogs. Man, if I can carry 8 beers and 20 hot dogs, then let me carry them.
And do not let, besides 2016 and anybody else below me, do not let LECJ class of 2017 and below in, please. Okay. I don't want to run into classmates, please.
What the heck?
I'm sorry. On top of that, you're giving me a deal, and it's unlimited. Seriously, if I buy 4 hot dogs and 2 beers, set them down and get back in line, I get the same thing. If I want 8 hot dogs and 4 beers, you can give it to me right there. Like,
might as well, yeah. Give me a cup holder and everything. Let's go.
And you want to get some ticket holders? Don't offer tickets in the same damn row for $6 cheaper. I'm just saying. Just saying. Okay, my rant's over. Richard, bring us home with what's your rant of 2019?
Oof, well, I don't think I'm going to go on the rant because you already did it for me. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Then continue on.
Freaking Houston Dynamo. Like, why in the world?
What if you don't know?
I mean, the only thing that they only had to lose to Montreal Impact for last place this season. So,
and by the way, how ironic was that we sent Roma Kyoto there? Just saying.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, but I mean.
So that essentially was the worst of 2019 because other than that, everywhere else in the world has been doing pretty great at soccer, women's soccer, even Liga MX. And I do have a rebuttal for you for the decade comment that you made because
Oh, here we go.
1990s was the worst decade for America, but besides then, Champions League left and right, which you weren't able to do.
Uh-oh.
Right?
I mean, that's true.
Right.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, two, three.
Waiting for the third.
Going for the third. Going for the third star this year, which is half of what y'all did,
Yeah.
but still as much more
Wait for the
than they did
14th
last
star.
decade when they only had 2.
14th star.
Yeah.
No, but I agree with you. I mean,
So they've had success everywhere else. Maybe not as much as Tigres did in the league, but at the same time, internationally, they've continued to get their name out there.
But the thing is, when you're basically Richard, like you have to admit, like oh no, you don't have to admit, but like the problem for us is that Club America is the New York freaking Yankees
oh yeah.
of soccer.
Everybody
You're a
hates
Yankees fan
but,
to
but,
us.
but look,
Yeah.
That
even,
drives us nuts.
but look, even the Yankees didn't make it to the World Series
exactly.
this decade.
And they
So
still
for
piss people off
Yeah, it's still
because
everybody.
they just buy players.
And look, I'm not gonna lie, 2013 was probably the best finale ever, and if Monterrey can reproduce the exact same emotion to that, then I'll take it. It's been the decade for Piojo.
Hey,
It's
you
been
guys
the
got
decade
a
for
bunch of stars. I'm looking to add a 5th one up here. That's all. Lowly 5-star here is all I want.
Maybe we'll get there before
Yeah.
the
Who
others.
knows? Yeah.
But other than that, I think it was pretty sad as well for Liga MX for Veracruz. Veracruz, the whole drama and the whole incidents that the president had with the team itself, it really degraded the progress that Liga MX was building internationally to have all these something like that
What
happen.
idiots! And even still, I mean, Matt Jordan, but Gabriel Brenner. I mean, I don't care. But James Harden. James, he owns 10%. Shut up, James Harden. Gabriel Brenner runs that team. And Gabriel Brenner, ironically, as the only Mexican-born owner in the MLS, you think he would know better? You would think soccer-wise.
The only positive for Dynamo is that Wilmer Cabrera is gone. Thank God. You should have got rid of him a long time ago. But guess what, Dynamo? You have something to look forward to. Why? Because he is gone.
Yeah.
Good segue, because my next topic is what are you looking forward to in 2020?
Yeah.
So, what are we looking forward to in 2020? For me, I say that this is the most critical, and I say it was because it's the 25th year in the MLS.
Mm.
They've been expanding rapidly. I think this is one of the most critical years we've seen for U.S. soccer. And I say that ironically in a year that I'm not talking about the national team. I'm talking about the sport and the country that there's an opportunity. I think there's frustration at the NFL. A lot of the rules are going on there. I think there's NBA's been frustrating people. Baseball's kind of stayed constant. But I think that soccer has an opportunity to fill a gap, to fill a void.
Mm-hmm.
They're in more markets now. They have a plan to go to 30 teams. They're going into all the existing markets where you see, and then some other markets that don't have teams. I'm excited to see Nashville, besides the Titans, have another team. Austin, who does not have a professional sports team the year after that. North Carolina, potentially after that. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with that. The question is can these owners capitalize on it like you see the LAs and the Seattles and the Atlantas? Or are we going to have more idiots like the Houston Dynamo ownership? And so I think there's a big opportunity there. I'm excited that they're focusing on the rivalry with Liga MX. I think they're piggybacking, which is no problem with that. No shame in it. Piggyback off the success of the number one league in North America. Piggyback off them. So my story for 2020 is the growth of the MLS and what I'm thinking in terms of their stature when it comes to being compared to other leagues. I think this is a year that they could finally, I'm not saying they surpass necessarily, but finally get in the same respectable conversation as Liga MX and some of the other American leagues out there. That's my story for 2020.
I honestly see MLS expanding, but not taking steps above. But they'll probably take 2 steps up, 3 steps up. But MLS is a league that's gonna grow. They know where to expand now. They know how to expand. They're learning how to spend money. I give them that.
They're getting more money too.
Yeah, they're getting more money, and then you get these new teams. These new teams that are gonna come and try and take players from Mexico, Europe, South America. So MLS is the story for 2020. And now that they're gonna have the whole Liga MX All-Stars versus MLS All-Stars, they're heading the right way. They're going the right way. Instead of going Europe, they're gonna stay close and they're gonna expand there.
Richard?
I think on top of that, the Liga MX and MLS All-Star match, I think something to look forward to is the Euro 2020 to see who will be a potential contender for the World Cup
Yeah.
in 2022 for the Men's World Cup. But other than that, I think the best perspective, and this is something that still has yet to be announced tomorrow, is a conference between Seattle Reign FC and the Olympic Lyon Femmes. So the women's team from Lyon. The Seattle Reign has the big market because of Megan Rapinoe, and they've also been a pretty good team, but they haven't won a championship yet either. I think, and then Olympically, the Lyon, the women's team are actually good contenders for the upcoming Champions League round of 16, I believe, for the women. And I think if what they're planning to announce is a match between these two teams, I think there's a lot to look out for the women's in terms of having international tournaments like Champions League for CONCACAF. And even seeing those matches between Monterrey and North Carolina Courage to see the champion of champions. So I think that's what I'm really looking forward to next year is to see how big they're going to use this previous World Cup and how big are they going to expand.
Can I say thank God none of us mentioned the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo because Olympic soccer is a freaking joke. I'm just going to say that.
No, yeah, I don't.
None of us said
That's one thing that I'm sorry, but a lot of people don't pay attention to. I mean,
not anymore, at least.
well, it depends. Well, it depends on who's in it, but the last one I seen was Mexico and Brazil. That was about it.
It's all like U20 players.
Yeah, that's all it is. But I mean, hey, they still do it. Gotta respect it. But if it isn't World Cup, I'm sorry, I don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, no, that's stupid.
Or Confederation
Mexico's
Cup.
going to win.
Yeah, Mexico.
It's the only world.
the medal.
It's the only World Cup per se that Mexico
I
probably
say
wins.
because she my antlers.
Well, hopefully not.
Well,
But I guess something before we wrap up as well is Liga MX Femenil. I think they're taking a big loss after Veracruz is leaving because now they're going back to 18 teams, just like the men. But they've been doing pretty good at actually keeping consistency with that. As if one team falls, like they all fall in a way.
Well, I think they should keep the same thing going. If like same thing for men, bring one up,
And
bring two up, and just keep it growing. I think they want to get to 20 teams. That's
yes.
the whole thing.
And good news with that is actually that they're bringing back REL and promotion for Liga MX in the 2020-2021 season.
Yeah, they need that.
So that's
Thanks
good
a lot,
news.
Veracruz.
So I guess it's thanks to them that they brought it back. Honestly, I prefer that because now Chivas is gonna win.
I need Chivas to leave.
Right, they only did it because they didn't want them to leave. Honestly,
Yeah, I understand that. No, but it's getting close, and I mean, we actually have a lot to look forward to in 2020.
Right.
I mean, we have some good things. Well, mainly it's all positive,
Right.
but maybe 2 months from now it's gonna all be bad. So who knows? So I mean, hey, we got something to look forward to.
That's your Tech Soccer Live fortune cookie right
Yeah.
there. There's a lot to look forward to, but it might go bad.
Yeah, it
Just
might go down the hole in 2 months. So
that's how we are. We're hot one day, cold the next. All right.
that's Houston for you.
So we went a little over today. We went an hour and a half show, but that's our wrap up for 2019. It's kind of cool. We've already hit 30 episodes. Today we were sitting down talking about our design for our T-shirt for the 4th year. So our 3rd year is going to wrap up. We're 3 episodes away, or 2, and then the show. We're doing a January show, February show. Then episode 33 is going to be our anniversary show, just launching of the 4th year. So pretty crazy. We've been doing that, and it's been fun. So as always, give comments, guys. Give feedback. Like, share the page. We're trying to update stuff here on the Facebook page. Richard and I are trying to maintain stuff on the Twitter page. So Tech Soccer Live on Twitter. YouTube channel Tech Soccer Live. So everything Tech Soccer Live. Follow us on that. You guys got anything else to add before we wrap up?
Well, yeah, just with that, just to add it with the YouTube channel, just si ustedes les está gustando el nuevo formato, ahí estoy tratando nomás de. So I've been trying to get it more focused. I know we talk a lot about men's soccer here, so I'm giving it
we're trying to expand.
A segment dedicated to women's soccer. And unfortunately, I had a rough semester towards the end, but hopefully the first 4 episodes that are on YouTube, you all enjoyed. And if y'all like it, let us know down in the comments here and how you like that YouTube format. If you want us to start implementing similar stuff that to our live show here, or whether you'd want to see this on YouTube, or whether you still like seeing this on Facebook Live.
And we might break up. We're doing some more mini shows since Richard has to go back. I tend to be more focused on MLS and American soccer, where Raul tends to be more on the Mexican soccer. So we may do our own spin-offs, if you will, little mini shows, especially since Raul follows a lot of those transactions and the off-season, what's going on. I'm going to try and do the same with MLS. So we may do our own separate things, both live on the page, on the Facebook, on the YouTube, etc. So tell us what you like and interact with us. So it's how we know what to do.
Sí, así que déjenos saber abajo en los comentarios qué tal les ha estado gustando. Digo, hago los shows bilingües, a veces hago uno en inglés, a veces uno en español. Si les gusta ese formato, qué bien, así nos vamos a poder seguirle haciéndole dedicados a ustedes, Raúl y yo, haciendo nuestros mini shows en español y en inglés, y Sean haciéndolo en inglés. Pero gracias por todo el apoyo a toda la gente que nos ha estado siguiendo ahorita todo este show, por darle like o por tomarse el tiempo para vernos aunque sea un rato. Se les aprecia mucho.
Yeah. So for everybody that tunes into our shows, watches here or there, and follows the page, 2020, we have big things coming for you guys. So pay attention, follow the page, follow us on YouTube, share it. Please share the episode. But we got some big things coming for you guys in 2020. All right, guys? So stay tuned.
Unfortunately, it doesn't include me doing a Spanish show. Sorry.
Maybe one of these days.
One of these days. Inglés sin barreras, we got it coming.
Sponsor us.
And you'll see me sitting there going, see.
No, but thanks for tuning in the whole year, guys. We appreciate it. Leave your comments and stuff. I'm going to leave every stoppage point for each section for the show for this one. So if you want to skip to a certain part, go to the comments, watch it, and leave your predictions and stuff. But, hey, we got big things coming for you guys.
As always, at wraps up episode 30. I'm Sean Telez with Raul Villarreal, and this time Richard Romero, live and in the flesh. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time in January, y'all. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2020.
Alrighty.
Hit it.
Nos vemos.